So before we get started, I think we should talk about the fact that we haven't done a show.
We had some technical difficulties.
We're not going to blame you for it. It's interesting how much you can actually utilize AI in every industry.
I think it's just inevitable that that change happens.
When do you use transloading versus just direct shipping from a port?
Some people would be like, how are you efficient if you're not planning the outbound? It's called an estimate.
There's a common misconception that if you focus too much on safety, that means you're being unproductive or
Right.
it's going to cause the operation to slow down. All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the LTL podcast. This is now episode 2. We know that we haven't been pumping these out, but we really look to be ramping that back up. This episode is actually really interesting. This episode is we talk about the Iona event that happened a few weeks ago. We talk about a few things that we liked, a few things that we didn't like so much, but we're hoping that get improved for next year. But we also really dive deeply into AI and a lot of the revolutionary things that we've seen and we've been seeing, and a couple things that we're interested in seeing in the future. But another big topic this episode is we dive really deeply into transloading services, whether or not you should use transloading, when you should use transloading, whether or not you should direct ship, whichever way that you want to go. We talk deeply and for you to be able to make that decision. We talk about how we as a business mitigate risks for our customers, making sure that there's no damages, how, what kind of security we use, and just the overall operation here at our facility, how we focus on efficiency and things like that. So again, I just really want to let you guys know. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if there's other things that you want us to talk about. But for now, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Is it different with the 3 lights?
There's a lot more lighting for
Does
sure.
it feel like we are? It feels like we're in an actual like you have to perform. Uh, I don't know. But so before we get started, right? Before we get started, let's talk about. No, I think we should talk about the fact that we haven't done a show, right, Dran?
I think he needs an explanation.
Yeah, he needs an explanation from us. All right, look, Dran. We were supposed to put out episode 2 a few weeks ago.
We had some technical difficulties.
We're not going to blame you for it. We're really not going to blame you for
We
it.
know it wasn't your direct fault.
Right. But
So
we were 45 minutes in, already fully about to end the podcast, right? And then we get some laptop issues and then we lose all the audio, lose pretty much everything that you need for a podcast.
right.
But anyways, that's the reason why we have not started, or we did not shoot episode 2, or it hasn't released episode 2. We then got busy, a lot of things that came up as well the last few weeks.
A lot of things going on recently.
So Dran, we apologize for not coming out with episode 2, but here we are.
Ready for episode 2.
Ready for episode 2?
Because I know everybody's been waiting for it.
Yeah. Actually, funny enough, we recently went to Iona, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But at Iona, I did get a few people, some people that we know, we're closer to. Yeah. That did ask us when's episode 2 coming out. So, shout out to those people who are listening, who are watching. It's interesting. It's interesting to kind of just know that,
People are actually watching.
yeah, that people actually watched the episode. So that's cool. So here we are with episode 2. But before we even get and jump right into it, let's talk a little bit about fantasy football.
Do you really want to go there?
I mean, I shouldn't, based off my record, but just for those of you watching or listening, we're in a fantasy league here at the offices, and it has not gone well for both of us. So don't say you're all proud because
Well, look, I got a victory.
Well.
I got a victory, and
got a victory. It's week 4.
I got a victory, and I have the 3rd most points in the league.
I was actually just talking to Jan about this today. Okay, so I'm 0-4. Let's just throw that out there. All right, I'm 0-4. Yes, people call me Owen all day, every single day that I'm walking in here. My new name's Owen. But the points that I have that have been allowed, so the point people that I'm playing against, I'm literally getting like they're scoring just the most points. I have the most points allowed. So that
I mean, that goes hand in hand with being Owen,
yeah,
in
no,
my
no, but
opinion.
look, last week I would have beat almost everybody except for the person I played. So that
That
says
that
something.
was that was me week 1 through
I count
3.
okay, I
That
count that
was
as a
me.
W.
Like I drafted a fantastic team, in my opinion. Generated the second most points week 1, yet I lost.
Yeah, it's just
You know, my team is completely different now, but I still have a fairly strong team, and I don't know. I think that I made my projections. I made my projections. I should be
okay.
I should be coming 7-3
We should be.
by week 10.
Listen, I should be not 0-4. Okay, because I mean I've been doing fantasy for. All right, we're playing in a fantasy league at work with people who have played for like a year or none
Or none. Or
or
this is their
brand new.
first year. I think there's like 4 people,
There's people that I had to teach how to do stuff,
and
and I'm
they're
getting
beating you.
destroyed. I've been playing for like 7 years, so it's not been going well. But aside from that, the Rams pulled a W out against
My Colts.
your Colts.
Yep. And that was sad. That was sad. I'm
Trust
so
me.
glad we had that in the pocket.
You guys had
Um,
me at the second half of that game was insane.
it
We
was,
played horrendous
and I was watching it on NFL Red Zone, mind you, and it kept switching to the other game
yeah,
that I did not give a damn about.
I can't do
It
when the
was
Rams are on.
really annoying, but
When the Rams are on, you got to stay. But anyways, we're so I was happy after that. I went 0-4, but the Rams pulled it out. So
yeah,
I'm happy. But so let's with that aside, let's get into the show. Welcome everybody to the LTL podcast. I'm Isal Torres,
I'm Eric Lopez.
and let's get right into today's topics, man. So, like we talked about a little bit earlier, um, Ayana. So we did Ayana. What was it? What is now a week and a half ago? Maybe 2 weeks.
Almost 2
Is it
weeks.
almost 2 weeks now? So I know that I was there a little bit more than you. You kind of showed up a
Mhm.
little bit later. So Ayana, I mean, I felt was granted I didn't go last year. This year, I mean, it was I liked it. I mean, we got an opportunity to talk to a lot of great people. We talked to a lot of the people that that we do business with. People that I got to meet some new faces, some new people that we were able to do business with recently.
Right.
But from what I heard, that it was a little bit slower this year.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I saw in the convention center here in Long Beach, it was a great display. A great display, great, but it did feel like less people, especially
Hmm.
comparing it to like TPM. But
For sure.
TPM last year was that this year? This
Yeah,
year?
this year. Early
Yeah,
this year.
this year TPM was. I think it was because it was smaller too
Yeah.
that it really looked and felt like dang, like people here and
But it was even noticeable at night, when people are going to bars, to
true.
dinners, like TPM, you couldn't get a dinner table, you couldn't get anything really. This time for Ayana, I think at least I noticed it more at that time.
Mhm.
That there was just visibly a lot less people.
Yeah, and then I remember also TPM where you couldn't really sit at the charger stations. There was always someone there. And this year when we were walking around TPM, like we got food and we were able to sit down at a table. We
Yeah.
we sat down and charged our phone for a little bit, like things like I at the time didn't notice it, but just talking to other individuals and other people that were there, it did seem a little bit slower. I think I thought it was a great group of people that were there. We got to
Mhm.
to chat with those individuals, and then got to connect with some people. Got to talk to the CEO of the Port of Long Beach, which was pretty cool. Um, I think it did. If you went, I think you were able to get more quality connections
For sure.
than if than TPM, in my
Right.
opinion. Even though there was a lot more people, you may have been able to exchange more business cards, but I think this time around you were able to connect a lot deeper, like a lot closer.
Right.
You were able to have conversations. People had more of that time to do that. I think it was so like I think I mean
You know,
it was a
I think
quality.
there was one thing that I remember from TPM, at least in terms of a feeling that was, um, it's almost like fear of missing out, where you see so many people, you're like, okay, well, I let me make a meet and greet type of thing in this conversation, and then try to see how many more people I can try to,
Yeah,
connect with. And this time, it just you you didn't get that sense so much, so
yeah. I felt
you
more
had to
relaxed.
focus a little bit more, and you know at least make that quality connection, like you
Yeah,
mentioned.
yeah. No, but it was great, and looking forward to next year. Hopefully we can get to kind of hopefully we get to
Yeah.
go and we get to kind of keep that going. A lot of people obviously were talking about potential the reasons why it was slow. I mean, we all understand, we all know the market, we all know how it's kind of been lately,
Hmm.
and just maybe that was a big factor as to why some companies just decided that it was not in the budget this year. Maybe they went to TPM, didn't decide to go to Ayana for their
Right.
own their own reasons. But I think if you were able to go, you were able to really connect with some people on a pretty close level,
Yeah, no,
which
for
is pretty
sure.
cool for us.
And I mean, like you said, hopefully next year we get to do the same thing, and because I think these events are turning out pretty decent for us.
Yeah, they are, and if you are going to Ayana and TPM Ayana, these different events, try to reach out to us. We're more than happy to kind of just,
Reconnect.
yeah, reconnect and just see where we can go and see how we can either work together or hey, I mean, whatever comes with it.
We've always been open to working with anyone and anyone who would do business with us.
Yeah. And then interesting as well is I feel, I mean, obviously the obvious thing is the obvious buzz right now is AI, right? AI is everywhere, right? You see it all over the place in every industry. It's tapping. I mean, it's moving so quickly. But I think what was interesting as well at Ayana was you get to see some of those companies started coming out. At TPM, I don't remember
There wasn't
much.
many.
There was software and like brokerages and brokerage softwares that we've seen,
Hmm.
for the past few years, but AI and just it being like a very like a staple in like this company is an AI company, right? And their sole focus is one niche, right? So
Right.
one of the companies that I saw was, I don't remember the name of the company, but their technology was essentially for warehousing. It's a giant camera that essentially it's a stationary camera. You put it up, it's overhead and it's just recording below you. And then I guess what it does is you put cargo on a you put your packages or on a pallet, and the AI without like it's just a quick pass through. It's not like you have to do anything. It's a quick pass through, and in that pass through, it records the measurements, dimensions. It records. I don't know if it records weight. I think they had mentioned that you can plug it into like a scale or anything like that.
Okay.
So you would get all that stuff. It will populate it all. You can plug it into like a printer, a label printer, and print your labels and uh, just kind of systematically doing that, a lot faster. You don't have to sit there and take measurements. Now, I thought that was cool. I not entirely sure how. I mean, maybe you know a little bit more, but as to like how you would really, how that would really, maybe more for fulfillment.
No, I think it would definitely benefit like those container freight stations that deal a
Mm.
lot with like they need very specific pallet dimensions. They're receiving a full container load that um in this container a lot of different customers, and so they have to take the dimensions of everything because it'll eventually ship out LTL. If
Right,
you know
LTL
anything at
stuff.
LTL, you need dimensions, you need weight. So it'll probably it that's probably the best case use for it, for that. And we use it. We take dimensions for most of our cargo as well, but it's on a need basis.
Mm.
Like we do it to create a habit, to create standardization in our processes, but not because it's a thing a customer absolutely needs. It is very useful though. It is very useful. So I could see many applications for that, and the need for it too. I think lots of people would, with a lot of volume, would really need that.
Yeah, that's why I think if you would have been there, I don't know if it would see, that's one thing I because you're huge on software and in
Hmm.
AI and in how to, incorporate, integrate softwares and things like that to make, things more efficient. Um, I think you would have really, gone in on a lot of these specific companies. Now, I don't know if that necessarily would have been
So
the best, but
there's now that you're bringing it up, I just remembered about a company I've had. I We had a little demo. I think you were part of that demo, maybe a few months back earlier this year. It was a company that had similar thing, kind of cameras all over your warehouse, but they were more focused on like safety. Um,
mm,
and
was I a part of
even
that?
and even and even efficiency tracking sort of thing. So they would you would have almost like a diagram in your computer of the layout of the whole warehouse. They'd be tracking every forklift,
See,
where
that's
they're at in the forklift. I mean, in the warehouse in relation to,
mhm.
these cameras that are put everywhere. It'll track kind of, it tries to avoid like potential crash
Oh,
points,
yeah,
all that
I
kind
do
of thing.
vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember to the full extent like how you remember it, but I remember vaguely we were talking about something like that. Oh, utilizing it was like a camera, right? On the
Mhm.
forklift, wasn't it?
Oh,
Or no?
you're right. It was a
I think it
camera
was
on
a
the
camera on the
forklift.
forklift. Okay, so yeah, that's
It was a camera on the forklift, and then there's something throughout the warehouse that kind of tracks those as well.
yeah,
Like
like
so you can
points
see
on where they're at.
right.
You know,
Yeah,
did you
that
s-
was interesting.
did you see the I'm assuming it's gonna be something similar. Like I think it was like a Starbucks. I think it was like a something that was like it was trending on. I don't know if it was Twitter or if it was something LinkedIn or something that I had seen it, but I think it was a Starbucks and like the whole goal was like and people were freaking out about it and things like that. But like, I think there was like cameras in the Starbucks that were literally like the whole AI was supposed to um
Record like the time,
yeah,
no?
how long someone was sitting there for, how long they were on their phone if they were on their phone, and people were like, "Oh, well, companies gonna start using this and it's gonna start,
Right.
affecting employees, things like that." But it's just it's interesting how much, well, at least what it seems, how much you can actually utilize AI in every industry, right?
Mhm.
In every place. Like there was another company that I saw at Iona that I think it was and uh, forgive me if I get the name wrong, but I think it was either Sophie or Sophia, something like that, where it was like an AI intelligent, like why they named it like a person, right?
Right.
Where it was supposed to be a person or an AI bot that's helping you pre-plan, like for a trucking company,
Hmm.
to pre-plan your routes, like the day before. This person is gonna do this load. It's gonna do this, and then it
Wow.
starts learning. It starts learning like your specific organization and who does what. You can put like this person does more of moving chassis, this person does intermodal, this person like and then you start it starts learning and it just plans it for you as you're like going, which is
Now that's interesting.
insane.
That's interesting.
It's very interesting. So I saw that when I got to talk to I believe he's the owner of it. I forget his name and but the company I thought was really cool and I got a chance to talk to him for a little bit. Showed me a demo of it, showed me kind of how it operates. They don't have like day of planning, but it's usually like it's just pretty much like pre-planning what you're gonna do before to kind of get the next day rolling. I thought it
Interesting.
was interesting. So this AI thing is, I think it's a, I mean, is it here for the long, for the long?
I mean, I think there's gonna be newer, better things that come in the
Mm-hmm.
future once people start really learning how to utilize these tools. Even now, I think, I mean, just think think to like all the I wouldn't call them problems, but all the obstacles that comes with AI, right? Like, when are we going to start seeing those obstacles
Yeah, I
in
agree with you.
this industry, and when they're getting applied? Because nobody really pays attention to the obstacles until
They start
they start coming up, and that doesn't tend to be until later. But
Yeah, but I think right now it's in the fun stage. It's in the stage where everybody's just it opens your eyes. You're just like, dang, like, this is. I mean, I just last weekend I watched the game from Andy's room in Toy Story, right? So it's like it's just like it's a fun thing, you know.
right.
It's I think now right now that's kind of everyone's trying to dabble in it that way.
One of the curious things that calls my attention is, and I don't know if it's necessarily generated by AI, but I keep seeing a commercial while I'm watching football um about how it used to take so long to schedule a season for the NFL, and like because they're using, I think it's the Amazon service,
Mm.
because they're using that, it takes a matter of, I don't know, an hour or something, or however long it may be, but
Right.
it's just so much faster than how it used to take before, and reduces injuries, reduces whatever
Yeah.
like who comes up with that?
I don't know, but that actually is a really good it's a good point because recently I was reading an article, I think it was on Freightwaves, where they were actually discussing the dichotomy between AI and like labor, right?
Hmm.
Like what kind of people are worried, right? AI is going to come and take your job. AI is in this specific industry. And I think the way that you just put it right there, at least for me, I mean, I would assume that it helps, right? I mean, I would assume that maybe this what you were talking about, what Sophie or Sophia, whatever that the AI saw at Iona, where it's what it's doing is it's eliminating the busy work.
The tedious
Yeah,
tasks.
right. So that's the way I see it. It's going to eliminate your busy work so that you can then focus on the bigger goals, the bigger
Right.
things, right? So, um, I think that's one major way. I mean, but it's an interesting topic because there is a big worry, in the labor side of things where it's like, I mean, if there's a machine that's taking measurements of all the packaging, then I don't need to take the measurements of the packaging. Therefore, they don't need me, right? So,
Right.
um, and I think it's interesting. But what do you think about the people that think of that? They're just,
I mean, it you really have to think back to like when the computer became a thing and
Mhm.
people started thinking that it was going to eliminate so many jobs, and it probably did, right?
I was gonna say, what
It
if it
probably
did?
did, but I mean, looking at it right now, nobody thinks about the computer and says, "Man, so many jobs were taken away." Uh, everyone sees the computer as such a valuable tool. It's needed every single day, and it's still going to be used. So I think it just we're going to have to make a shift, and there is going to be some changes going on in the future. When that happens, I don't know, but um, I think it's just inevitable that that change happens because the other part is we're also in a situation where for many jobs there's not enough labor, right?
Yeah.
So if we're just displacing, okay, we don't need people here, but we need people here, that can be a shift in a sense. We're actually moving people to where they need to be, you know,
Hmm.
made available. Um, Now whether they have the skills and stuff for that particular job, now that's a different question, and something that we'll figure it out later. But I think that's a big thing. AI needs to fill in some gaps, in my opinion, that I think they can start filling up today.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, I think it's a valid worry. It's a valid worry for people to have. I mean, it's one of those, it's new, it's scary, it's what's gonna happen kind of thing. And I think it's very valid to have. But I think it's when you look at it, in the standpoint of there's gonna be more offered training, more opportunity to learn a new skill.
Right.
And I think when you start shifting, a little bit of your mindset to that, maybe it becomes it opens up the door more to just more acceptance
For
of
sure.
AI and
For
just
sure. I
anything
I
new
think
like
I
that.
think if anyone's worried, is because if anyone's worried right now,
Hmm.
it's because AI can do something that people are currently doing in that position.
Yeah,
And a
no, for
lot of
sure.
that, for now at least, it seems like it's going to be more in the analytical side of things. Um, AI can analyze and predict and make patterns a lot quicker than, us humans can. That's for sure. Gather data in massive amounts of data and sort through it. I mean, would you enjoy a job sorting through thousands and thousands of gigabytes of data? Probably not.
I wouldn't.
Probably not. So that's where we need
But
AI,
but it's also but then you think about that, right? It's a repurpose, right? Because now you're not gathering the data, but now you're figuring out how to use the data.
Sure.
Because that's another thing that sure AI is going to grab the data, but I mean it may or may
Who's going to
not,
make a
right? We don't know,
decision
right?
based on
Who's
the
going to
data,
make it exactly?
you know?
And that's all. You're always going to have human hands in anything that's like
And
that.
whether AI makes suggestions of what to do with that, I mean, ultimately, I don't think as a society we're not going to let AI make the
Right?
decisions.
No, you.
We're also going to be the ones to decide because ultimately, at least in my opinion, let's say it's a decision that affects all of society. We need someone to be accountable. We can't say, it's AI did this.
Whoops.
I'm
Right.
sorry.
Yeah, I think there may have been something like that with I forget what company it was that was using AI to do like inventory purchasing or like purchasing, and they had like an over inventory of product, and it was an insane problem. But at the end of the day, I mean, what are you gonna do, right?
Right.
So yeah, I agree. I mean, I love the idea of something new coming in. It is a scary thing. I think it's something that, but it's also extremely exciting, depending
Yeah.
on whichever way you want to look
Yeah.
at it. Is just
Me being
repurposing.
an analytical person, I mean, I'm not afraid of it. I'm actually more,
Yeah, I mean, me too.
and
I
I'm
mean,
excited about what kind of analysis I can come up with 1,000 data points.
yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself very analytical, but I just love the idea of having that time. I feel like I said, like
Hmm.
I feel like it will alleviate the busy work,
Right.
the things that you spend probably most of your time doing,
Hmm.
and you could focus on the real things at hand, the real big decisions that need to be made to make an organization,
So
move.
here's an actual like um place where I would definitely use AI. So um throughout the month, throughout the years, throughout the quarters, there's a thing in accounting where data may change because someone decided to go open up a month that was already closed, and they weren't made aware, and some numbers changed, and
Mm,
now your analysis changed overall, and you had to make some corrections here and there. Every single time someone has to go back into that data and like fix it or reanalyze it, that is where AI can help
yeah,
like drastically. Like
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's
the
that's
amount of time that's just wasted to go look at that data that you've already looked at. Like just imagine that. That's
Yeah, no,
ridiculous.
and that's what I think AI is actually going to be a huge benefit. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing that's going on right now, and I mean, I'm excited for it. There's a lot going on. I think
Yeah.
we're in the fun times of it. I do think there's going to get some worrisome times. We start seeing some um, where those holes and those problems start coming in. But one of the major things I wanted to talk about today, or I think we should talk about, is um, aside from just AI and how we can incorporate it in logistics, is also just uh, in general, right? We have a warehouse here, and we have a transloading facility here in Compton, and I wanted to talk a little bit about transloading, and I want to talk about that service in particular, and why it's been ramping up, why it's been kind of it's almost you have to kind of do. I mean, not every single instance, but
Hmm.
and then there's the difference. So the big thing is I want to talk about is what is the difference between, or when do you use transloading versus just direct shipping from a port? Why
Right.
would you do it? And just walk us through a little bit on that.
Yeah. So the decision of when you're gonna do it really depends on where the cargo's going and where is that destination in relation to uh what port cargo is arriving to. For the most part, anything near the coasts. Let's say your destination is in California, 5 hours from the port.
Hmm.
you may choose to direct ship, right? Because it's fairly close. Now that can change when the rates of um of things start going up, such as rail. When there is less capacity for direct shipping, certain companies can't operationally make it efficient to do a volume to direct places that are very far distances. So when that capacity dries out, you may have to go and switch into transloading. But the main one is really when when the distance is really more inland into
Mhm.
the country, and there's less rail capacity, or you need a little bit better transit time. Those are all reasons to do transloading, um, and that's not known until once the product leaves China and knows or leaves
Wherever it's
wherever
coming
it's
from.
coming from, and we know where it's going and how long it needs, when it needs to be there, because then you can start analyzing, okay, this transit time is better and it outweighs the cost and so on and so on.
And I mean, I've seen, and I don't know. I mean, this is I've seen over like the past 5 years, transloading has actually picked up quite a bit,
Hmm.
right? Do you know? I mean, do you know why?
I want to say it's people are becoming aware of the flexibility that it offers. You got to think about, uh, a lot of times things change with the need of cargo. It probably came in, you projected it to be arriving a little bit later, and now you need somewhere for that cargo to sit
Mm,
because you may not have the space at your facility
mm,
to receive it. Transloading offers that flexibility. You only need to store it for 10, 15 days, and a transloading warehouse is the perfect option for
yeah.
that. You got things like detention from the carriers that they charge because a container was held out for too long outside the port. So storage is an option, but depending on those free days, it may be too costly, and
Mm.
it may benefit you to just unload it at a warehouse and then cross dock it, put it into a trailer, hold it in storage for a few days, and then put it into a trailer and get it on its way.
All right, so you've now made it to the part of the episode where I get to show you how you save up to 10% on your first 5 transloads. When it comes to transloading services, Franco Logistics is the beacon of efficiency and reliability. Imagine your cargo seamlessly transitioning from container to 53-foot trailer and vice versa with the precision of our efficient loaders and unloaders. We handle your precious cargo as if it were our own. At Franco Logistics, timeliness isn't just a promise, it's our commitment. We understand the value of your time and we do everything we can to make sure your cargo reaches its destination on time every single time. Worried about the safety of your cargo? Don't be. Our state of the art 24/7 security measures ensure that your goods are protected around the clock, giving you what you need, peace of mind. So if you move cargo in LA or Long Beach across the United States and are looking for either a new transloading facility or to find out if transloading is the right thing for you and your business, go ahead and reach out to us at www.francologisticsgroup.com/inquire. Again, it's www.francologisticsgroup.com/inquire. Reach out to us so that we can go ahead and help you. Don't forget to put LTL Pod 10, code LTL Pod 10 for 10% off your first 5 transloads. Let's get back to the show. I I also saw that. Well, I was looking on LinkedIn because there was this topic going on with transloading, which I thought was interesting. It's it's there was actually some people saying, why not to use transloading, right? And I guess the argument is it opens up for more liability for your
Mhm.
cargo. What if this warehouse is like steal your product? All these different things, more damage, more liability for damages, right? Because now you're unloading and you're loading up,
Right.
your product and you're moving it in a different facility that's not your own.
You're touching it too many times.
Exactly. So that's a big, I wouldn't call it an issue, but it is a concern for people. So
Sure.
I mean, how do we how do you mitigate? What's the best way to mitigate that risk for customers that have that fear?
So it really involves it's doing your homework. Yeah, in my opinion, if it were my product, I would want to go see the warehouse that this cargo is going to. That's actually
That's actually
something
true, yeah.
we've been requested to do many times. Is customers have offered, hey, whether they're the ones that own the cargo or not, they'll say, hey, someone's gonna go look at the warehouse to make sure the cargo's good. We'll have them sign some waivers, of course, for liability, make sure everything is taken care of. They're given proper PPE so they can maneuver through a warehouse or
Mhm.
escorted through with our personnel, and we let them see the process at the end of the day. I think
The
giving that
transparency.
transparency and showing them how much we actually care about their cargo,
Mhm,
it paints a different picture, they may have had a bad experience, who's to say they haven't, and that's fair in my opinion. I think showing them the proper steps that are taken to assure that the cargo is going to be in good hands
mhm.
is important.
Yeah, I think that comes down to just that service, right? That what a lot of people call like the ultimate, like just services. I mean, peace of mind for a customer, right?
Yeah,
For you to know what's happening, how it's being handled. Is it handled with care? Does the
right.
person, does the company that you're working with, what kind of partnership that you have with that individual? So yeah, I think that's huge, and I would imagine, I mean, I would hope that many people open up their warehouse to something like that, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case.
Yeah, I don't know how many warehouses do so, and if they don't, it's probably because there's something that's
Yeah,
not going on right, and it may not be that they're necessarily doing something wrong.
right.
It's just, you know, they probably don't have the right safety procedures. They probably stack higher than they're supposed to. Their environment is a little bit tight. So many factors,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that could be the reason for that. Um,
Yeah, I don't think anyone intentionally goes, "No, I don't wanna,
right.
I'm not gonna let you." There's
It's
always
probably a little bit of an insecurity thing to for many reasons, and I could see that. But I think it's benefited us at least to say that when we offer our doors open access,
yeah, I think that's huge.
we've received many good compliments.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think that's huge.
we actually had this actually 2 weeks ago. We had a customer visit us, and they wanted to look at their product. Their product was fragile. It was some glass product, and the cargo came damaged inside the container already. We took the proper pictures to assure that that's the reason, or that was the cause of the damage inside already. And so they wanted to come and inspect the cargo and do all that. And gave us one of the greatest compliments. And I think our team still get to this day is really surprised to receive those kinds of compliments because
Yeah.
they don't realize how good of a job
What did
that
they
we're
say?
actually doing. They said we had one of the most efficient processes, one of the cleanest warehouse that they've been into, most organized,
Ah, it's
just
huge.
overall. Like I think it put a good impression onto them. Look, I know we don't have the biggest warehouse or the most prettiest. It's a really old building, built in the 50s.
Yeah, no, it's
But
definitely
I
really
think
old.
I think I think the way we just handle it,
Yeah.
just makes the warehouse really appealing and gives that peace of mind, like you said.
Yeah, no, and it's huge because when all that stuff comes in, when once you start considering all those different factors, I mean, that's how we've not only provided that service, but we've made our warehouse so efficient that it allows us to make more money, right, in our margins, but also allows us to then offer that back to our customers to
Correct.
give better rates and to give. And I think that's something that a lot of people, I don't know if they they don't try to do. I don't want to say that they don't want to try to do it, but I think it's something that many people don't focus on
Hmm.
as much as we have.
Right.
I think the it's always, you want to be more efficient. I think if you ask anyone who owns a warehouse or anyone who owns any type of facility like that, or any business, right? You want to be more efficient. I don't think that's something that
100%.
anyone says, no, I don't want to do. But I think the focus that we put on it, right? Every single year where we say, okay, how can we up this, even if it's a small amount, how do we do this and how do we kind of keep pushing? I think it's something that not a lot of people do. Um, and
They. I would say this that one of the reasons that we had to push for it
Mhm.
um became a limit of space, right? We had a very limited space in the last 2 years when there was so much demand, and we had to find a way to be able to handle that demand, and it pushed us to just become a little bit more efficient and more efficient. I want to say in the past 2 years we've increased our efficiency by about 20%.
No, it's huge. It's huge, and I kind of want to talk a little bit about the things that we do. Maybe I mean we're not gonna. I feel like it will take us forever if we sit here and actually go nitty gritty into everything that we do.
Right.
But I think we can talk a little bit about some areas that we focus on, what we kind of do on, in a ballpark kind of or a very summarized way, to kind of just let people know what maybe some things they can consider, and maybe some things that maybe they're not considering to
Hmm.
help boost that efficiency. And one of those things is we talk about pre-planning a lot,
Yep.
right? Pre-planning what's coming in, what's to be worked on that day. You kind of do a little bit more of that with the staff here. So I mean, if you have, how do you go about planning the day for for the cargo that comes in?
So at least now, our team is able to pre-plan better than they used to because we started collecting data. Um, that I was really big on collecting the data so that it can help them see how it all comes together. And once that started happening, they started pre-planning and recognizing, how much staff is needed to complete the amount of transloads, the amount of work we just had, whether it was unloading, outbounds, whatever it was. So one of the things we don't do though, we don't have appointments for our outbounds,
Right.
right? Now, some people would be like, "How are you efficient if you're not planning the
Right.
outbounds?" It's called an estimate,
Yeah, that's the
and
part where
it our team has suggested, hey, what if we had an appointment system for our outbounds, we'd be a lot more efficient. I said, you're right,
yeah.
but what if you don't stick to it?
Yeah, no, then it gets even more chaotic and it
You
gets even
know, you
worse.
you promised the time that you were going to ship. Now you're delayed. Now all the
Hmm.
blame comes back to us for not meeting that. Now, yes, you could say, well, I mean, that should be part of your service. It is. The problem is that because we don't plan our outbounds, it gives actually our customers more flexibility,
Hmm.
right? They can call me today and say, hey, this cargo is going to pick up. And I say, come on in.
Yeah, actually, just to kind of talk a little bit on that, I will tell you because um, in the brokers division, we handle a lot of a lot of outbound, a lot of over the road, and I will tell you that I and the team that we have prefers no appointments
Yeah,
than appointments. I mean, it just makes it so much. There's a lot more that goes into scheduling when you have multiple parties in play. It's a lot tougher to schedule, and then it is true once you schedule that appointment, everybody knows that that time is the time that you're expected to be in there.
right,
So if the truck ain't there, that's one thing. But if they show up and the warehouse isn't available, that's another problem, right? Because
right,
now that customer might have to pay that carrier that's sitting out there waiting because the warehouse isn't ready. There's fees for that, and then they're gonna try to throw that back onto the warehouse. It's just, I mean, I can see it. I mean, it probably would make us more efficient, but we would have to be able to honor it in
in every
every single
yes.
appointment.
And I'm not saying that we can't. It just again, we wouldn't be able to get a call from that customer. Let's just say now on a particular day, 11 to 12 didn't get filled,
Mhm.
right? Now,
Yeah.
I just lost the
Wasted
ability to
labor and
do
time too.
something there too. So when you don't fill appointments, it's also not good
Yeah.
because now let's just say though that you do have a very late appointment of 5 to 6,
Yeah.
right? But you couldn't fill that 11 to 12. Now you have to really hold someone
Yeah.
for that
Your
later part
staff
of the
has to
day.
stay later, and yeah, I do agree. I think there's pros and cons to having a scheduling system
Hmm.
on the appointment
And
side.
I just think about like even just the appointment system at the ports and how treacherous that is on occasions.
Yeah.
Um, the good old times are gone where you could just make a pre-gate appointment, which really meant that you were telling the port, I'm going this day,
Oh,
and you could just go at whatever time that your driver was available, go pick it up,
yeah, that's not.
and those were the good days.
Yeah, that's gone now with the amount of uh I mean, just the amount of carriers going in there. It'll be a mess.
Yeah.
So then there's and then this is I think an area where I can touch a little bit. I mean, you too. Is the safety side of things. I think there's a common misconception that if you focus too much on safety, like there's that happy medium, but if you focus too much on safety and too much on if that driver is not driving, 5 miles, if they're driving 10 miles an hour and they're supposed to be driving five, but you're like really, really focusing on it too. I think there's a misconception that that means you're being unproductive or
Right.
it's going to cause the operation to slow down.
Hmm.
And for us, at least just from experience, it's not the case. That hasn't been the case. That's actually helped boost our efficiency. It's when we focus heavily on safety, right? We focus on how they're driving, how well they're driving, whether they're going at the right speeds, whether their forklifts and they're maintained properly. They're honking through every corner. They're pre I guess yeah, like when they're honking, they're kind of checking even before they even get there, just get to their door to make sure no one's coming, things like that. I think that has even boosted our efficiency because it caused less chaos.
Yeah.
Um, you know, a while ago, when before we had any of that stuff, it would you would see a lot more. Yes, people may have been driving faster, and you think that they're going to their dock faster and they're getting the cargo out faster. But in reality, it's causing a lot more chaos with the drivers. It's causing a lot more stoppage, causing a lot more pausing.
Well, think about even before. I think this was something that was put in place with the safety mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and it translated into more efficiency, which was it's kind of what you're saying about the chaos. There was just too many staff at one given time frame, um, that
That's another thing.
that
Yeah.
caused, but we tackled it with a safety mindset. We didn't tackle it with an efficiency mindset, and it created an
Yeah.
efficiency, outcome as well. And
Very true.
so, those are things when sometimes you just tackle things in a different perspective, you may get an outcome you don't even.
Yeah. No, that's huge. And like for instance, another thing too is we put these giant mirrors throughout the entire warehouse. When you
Right,
think about it too, prior to having those mirrors, yes, we did it for safety concerns, but prior to having those, you would have to get to the intersection,
before you even knew.
l-
Yeah.
turn or look around to see nobody's coming or hear a honk or whatever the case was. And if they weren't honking, I mean, that's a whole nother issue, right? But now you can see that there's nobody on your left, nobody on your right. You're going to make a
Yeah,
turn on it.
when
You
you're
can
like
see it
10
way
feet away.
before.
Yeah.
So now you have that opportunity to, you don't need to stop. You don't need to do any of that. You
Right.
can take it at your normal speed and you can have a very safe environment. And
I
then
never thought about that, but that's very true.
and let's not even talk about the complete chaos that an actual safety incident happens, right? God forbid something happens, two forklifts, hit each other, whatever the case is, someone gets hurt, or just that whole process of someone getting hurt, that stoppage, those maybe
The
those lifts are
downtime.
out of operation. All that downtime just gets eliminated when
Yeah.
everybody's doing their part when it comes to safety.
Right.
Um,
One of the biggest things that I thought was going to be a big headache was the inspections, right?
yeah, I
I
remember that.
really was, of course I'm for it, but I couldn't get out of my head like how much time are they going to be spending doing those
Mhm.
inspections, and more so because of the confidence that, like, for them to fill out that form, and do I say something? Do I
Right.
not? Should I just keep going, or how much time am I going to point everything out, and I'm going to be writing a big inspection
And be red
list,
tagging every
right?
forklift. Right.
I really thought that was gonna be an issue, and I've been proven wrong.
Yeah, and you know what? And it just it just goes to show you that I mean, you do have to have the right process in place because that could happen. That could happen. I just think we have a good process in terms of criteria that we've set
Mhm.
that would red tag a lift or what you do want to say, what you know something that you always want to point things out. We're always constantly checking those inspections, making sure they're good. We're also constantly maintaining the forklifts to make
Yeah.
sure that they're always in operation. Because remember, there was a point where we would see right? Like you, if you're not maintaining them properly, you're gonna see 4, 5, 6 forklifts out because of for whatever reason
Mhm.
you didn't maintain them, you know, as quickly or as often as you wanted to. And now you got 6 lifts that are out of operation.
Yep.
You
And most of the
can't,
time when they were out of operation at that time was something major,
yeah, it was
which
major,
took a
major
lot
stuff.
longer to
Right,
fix. And we were, we have to we're gonna have to reorganize what we're doing this week because we're down 2
right,
forklifts. And
right.
that was big.
And now it's. I mean, the maintenance on the forklifts that we're maintaining them so often, very minimal stuff.
Yeah.
Very minimal stuff, and
But it's the
you know, they've
attention to
upkept.
them so
Mhm.
constantly that allows us to, you know, fix things quicker, get them in and out in less than a day even.
Yeah, man. No, it's and this is and that's those are things that people don't look at.
Yeah.
At least from my experience and you know, talking to other individuals and you know, in the space and it's just even things that I've read and you know, horror. I love reading like horror stories of people that have in that are in this industry of things that they've gone through. I think it just gives us a better perspective as to how to be you know better,
Right.
how to not put people in those positions. But just hearing stuff like that, and I think a lot of those individuals, it's very focused on how do I get the customer's cargo out or how do I get this service provided that they're not looking at the overall picture as to how they can really how focusing within can also you
Oh
know
yeah, it gives you a lot of results that you probably don't even expect.
yeah yeah
That's true.
all right so I think we're good for this episode. One thing I do want to go ahead and say again, I appreciate every single person for watching. Thank you guys so much. um we're gonna keep these episodes coming out. We're gonna keep throwing them out. We're trying to do what is it? We're trying to do twice a month. That's the
That's
goal
the
here.
idea. That's the goal.
So if you
Hopefully
guys
we get
have
them out.
any topics that you want us to talk about, if you have questions, if you you know if you want to come on, if you're one of those that you know saw me at Ayana and you're like, hey, how do I get on the podcast? Just let me know. Reach out to me. Our socials are going to be in the description. If you are watching this on YouTube, if you are not watching it on YouTube, and you are listening on Spotify, um, go to YouTube and go to the description and go ahead and click our socials and go ahead and let us know.
It's only a click away.
Yeah. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the next episode. Thanks.
Have a good one.